You shouldn't be here.
I came because you called me.
The snow was falling harder than it should have, thick and quiet, covering the pack grounds like a shroud. Orion stood in front of me, close enough that I could feel his heat cutting through the cold. His eyes glowed amber in the dark, sharp and familiar, and my wolf stirred with a longing I had tried to bury for a year. You shouldn't be here, I whispered, even as my body betrayed me by leaning closer. I came because you called me, he said, his voice low, rough, dangerous. You just didn't know it yet. His hand brushed my wrist. Sparks shot through me, violent and intimate. Mate bond. Unbroken. Untamed. I had rejected him last Christmas, stood in front of the entire pack, and said I would rather be alone than be his. I still remembered the look in his eyes that night. Not anger. Not hatred. Just pain. Now he was back. You have until midnight, Orion continued, his breath warm against my cheek. When the snow stops falling, I will claim what is mine. Or I will leave forever. My heart slammed against my ribs. Midnight was less than 3 hours away. And I was no longer sure I could survive either choice. Last Christmas felt like a lifetime ago. The pack hall had been bright with firelight and laughter, decorated with pine branches and silver charms. It should have been the happiest night of my life. I had just turned 21. I had felt the pull of my mate for weeks, a steady ache in my chest that only grew stronger. When Orion walked in, everything stopped. He was the alpha's heir. Tall, broad-shouldered, commanding without effort. His dark hair had been dusted with snow, his presence filling the room like a storm. The bond snapped into place the moment our eyes met. My wolf had howled in joy. But I didn't. Because love had never protected anyone in my life. My mother had loved my father. He died defending the pack. She followed him a year later, worn down by grief. I grew up learning one lesson over and over again: attachment was weakness. So when the Alpha announced the bond, when everyone waited for me to accept Orion before the fire, I did the unthinkable. I reject him, I said, my voice steady while my soul cracked. I reject this bond. The room had gone silent. Orion didn't move. Didn't speak. He only stared at me like I had ripped something vital from his chest. That night, he left the pack. Now he was back, and the bond was screaming louder than ever. I stood on the edge of the forest, my cloak pulled tight around me, trying to slow my breathing. Snow crunched behind me. You always run when you're scared, Orion said. I turned. You don't get to say that. I do, he replied calmly. Because I know you better than anyone. Even when you pretend I don't. His control frightened me more than anger would have. Why now? I asked. Why come back? Because the bond is breaking, he said. Not between us. Around us. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? There's something moving beyond the northern ridge, Orion explained. Rogue wolves. Bloodbound. If the pack fractures, they will strike. And right now, you are the fracture. The words hurt because they were true. I had felt it too. The pack avoiding me. The whispers. The way the land itself felt restless under my feet. You could have sent a message, I said quietly. He stepped closer. This wasn't a conversation meant for distance. I looked up at him, really looked. There were faint scars along his jaw now. His eyes carried shadows they hadn't before. They changed you, I murmured. So did you, he answered. Silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. The bond tugged again, sharp enough to make me gasp. Orion's jaw tightened. Don't, I said quickly. I'm not touching you, he replied. Yet. The word lingered between us. Midnight, he reminded me. Accept me. Or let me go. I shook my head. You're asking me to choose in one night what I couldn't choose in a year. I'm asking you to stop lying to yourself, he said. You didn't reject me because you didn't want me. You rejected me because you were afraid to lose me. My throat burned. You don't know that. I do, Orion said softly. Because if you truly didn't care, you wouldn't be standing here with your heart breaking all over again. I turned away before he could see the tears forming. Behind us, a branch snapped. Orion's posture changed instantly. Alpha. Warrior. Protector. He pulled me behind him without asking, his body a shield. A woman stepped into the clearing. She had sharp eyes and silver-threaded hair pulled back tightly. Rhea, she said calmly. You're needed at the council fire. Celine, Orion growled. You shouldn't be here. Celine smiled faintly. Neither should you. Yet here we are. She looked at me again. The elders feel the disturbance. If this bond remains unresolved, the pack will not survive the winter. My chest tightened. So now it's an ultimatum. It's reality, Celine replied. Love or ruin. Choose. She left us alone again, her footsteps fading into the snow. I laughed softly, broken. You see? Even fate is tired of waiting. Orion turned to face me, his expression unreadable. Rhea, if you accept me, I will never cage you. If you reject me again, I will walk away and never return. But understand this, when midnight comes, there will be no undoing either choice. I met his gaze, my heart aching with everything I had denied myself. Above us, the snow kept falling. And time was slipping away. The snow grew heavier as midnight drew closer. Each flake felt like a second falling from the sky, counting down to a choice I had spent my whole life avoiding. Orion walked beside me as we headed back toward the pack grounds. We didn't touch. We didn't speak. But the bond stretched between us like a living thing, tight and restless, pulling us together even as fear tried to tear us apart. The council fire burned bright when we arrived. The elders stood in a circle, their faces grave. Wolves gathered at the edges, whispering, watching. I felt exposed under their stares. This is not how I wanted it, I said quietly. Orion glanced at me. I know. Celine stepped forward. Midnight is close. The land waits for balance. I clenched my fists. My wolf paced inside me, desperate, aching. Memories rose unbidden. Orion teaching me how to track when we were younger. Orion standing beside my mother's grave, silent but steady. Orion leaving without looking back last Christmas because staying would have destroyed him. You left, I said suddenly, turning to him. You didn't fight for me. Pain flickered across his face. I did fight, he said. But not the way you wanted. If I had stayed, I would have forced you to accept the bond. I would have broken you. I loved you too much to do that. The truth of it hit harder than anger ever could. What changed? I asked. He looked at the sky. I learned that walking away doesn't always mean letting go. Sometimes it just means bleeding alone. The ground trembled faintly beneath our feet. A howl echoed from the north. Then another. Low. Hostile. Celine's eyes sharpened. They're closer than we thought. The pack tensed. Wolves shifted uneasily. Orion moved closer to me, instinctively. Decide, Rhea. Please. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might tear free. I had spent my life building walls. But walls didn't protect the pack. Walls didn't stop the dark creeping in. I rejected you because I thought loving you would make me weak, I said, my voice shaking. But I see now. I was already broken. You were never the danger. Orion's breath caught. I stepped toward him, ignoring the gasps around us. The bond surged, bright and fierce, filling every empty place inside me. I don't know how to be brave, I whispered. But I know I don't want a life without you. His hands hovered at my waist, waiting. Always waiting. I accept you, I said. I accept the bond. I accept you, Orion. The moment the words left my mouth, power exploded through me. Heat flooded my veins. The mark flared at my collarbone, burning but right. Orion groaned as his own mark appeared, glowing in answer. The land stilled. Then the howls came again, closer this time. Orion pulled me against him, his arms solid and sure. Stay behind me. No, I said, surprising us both. I stand with you. His eyes softened, pride and something like awe shining through. Then stand, mate. The rogues burst from the tree-line, eyes wild, bodies scarred. They attacked without warning. The pack responded as one. I shifted for the first time in a year. My wolf surged forward, stronger than I remembered, fueled by the bond. I fought beside Orion, our movements seamless, instinctive. Where he struck, I followed. Where I faltered, he was there. It was over quickly. The rogues fled, broken and scattered. When silence returned, the snow began to slow. Midnight had passed. I stood panting, my wolf settling, as Orion cupped my face gently. You stayed. I always would have, I admitted. I was just too afraid to believe it. He rested his forehead against mine. No more running. No more, I promised. The pack watched in quiet respect as the alpha stepped forward and nodded. Balance restored. Later, when the fire burned low and the others drifted away, Orion and I remained beneath the falling snow. Last Christmas I lost you, he said softly. This one. I found my way home. I smiled, leaning into him. So did I. The snow finally stopped, the night calm and whole again. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of what loving him would cost. Because loving him had saved us all.